After Lloyd is able to finish his mission in the Merman Kingdom, a window notification pops up about the first core material. Looking at it, in his mind, the blueprint of the Truth Jewel, 80 Aroa. When I clicked on the Tanga, one of the core materials, I was able to see a screen of information. The great war between races that happened during mythical ages, and the war who would possess the 80 Aroa. At the very crucial moment, a certain mermaid asks the Truth Jewel a certain question. It was probably a question about how to win the battle, but the giants, who were as big as trees, destroyed it, and various races began to take the debris as their spoils. A certain giant carried the Tanga into the land. While the giant built a kingdom and ruled over humans, a rebellion soon occurred that drove him out. Then the humans built their own castle. At that time they used Tanga, which the giant had held, as the foundation of the castle, and that is currently right below the Magentano castle. Moving on, a new banquet was held in the Magentano Kingdom. A lot of envoys and noble was sent to look and attend the banquet of the strongest kingdom. A while ago the banquet was destroyed after the attack of the bone dragon. The fat noble said, "I have no idea what on earth is the Queen of Magentano is thinking." Another noble replied, "Yeah, the same here for me." The noble added, "She tried to scare us using the banquet she hosted previously, but got utter humiliated when the bone dragon caused a great mess. She sure looks confident. Does she think we would be deceived by her confident appearance?" Another noble said, "What? Did they defeat the bone dragon by themselves? The level of lying and bluffing is truly on an emperor's level." Then both of them start laughing. But while these nobles were talking about Queen Alicia, Lloyd is listening to their conversation. Lloyd smiled and called Yang to come over there. Then they felt a strong wind in the whole area. This even caught the attention of the fat noble. He saw Yang flying, approaching the place where the banquet was held. The fat noble was pointing over it. He was sweating and shouted that the bone dragon is approaching them. As soon as Yang landed, a large smoke appeared and the people started panicking. They did their best to run away from Yang. On the other hand, Lloyd, who was the father of Yang, was just standing like a proud parent should be. Lloyd proudly said, "The bone dragon seems a little strange." Then all of the people, including the fat noble, stopped running and tried to look back to see the situation. The queen didn't even flinch as the bone dragon approached her. She was just standing proud like a queen should be. Yang slowly approached his head into the queen. Yang sits like a dog and barks like a very friendly pet. Lloyd looks happy to see his dragon son well trained and follows what he has been told to do. On the other hand, the delegates were quite shocked to see what happened. Queen Alicia raises her hand and starts patting Yang like a dog. Yang, on the other hand, just stayed in his place while his tongue was out. He was panting like a dog in the presence of the Queen of the Magentano Kingdom. The fat noble, who was sweating in shock, hurriedly orders his man. He said, "Go back to our country and tell them this. Tell them to agree to every request of the Magentano Kingdom has made. Tell them that they possess the power to completely destroy the world if they wanted to. A dragon who has the power to wipe out the whole kingdom is now bowing in the queen's presence." Seeing this, all the delegates and nobles started bowing down to the queen. They said, "We pay our respects to you, great Queen of Magentano." Then Queen Alicia started her speech, which caught Lloyd's attention. Queen Alicia said, "I declare in the name of Magentano that the right and the most meritorious subject will be bestowed upon Lloyd, who made the bone dragon swear its loyalty in Magentano." Other nobles started looking at Lloyd. They were starting to question how was a young man became the most meritorious subject in the Magentano Kingdom, which is a title equivalent to being a royalty. Even Lloyd was shocked about it. In his mind, "She already gave me the authority to tear apart the castle, though she didn't have to go that far." In this large crowd, the queen started looking at Lloyd. Seeing Lloyd, the queen looks at him with adoration and then smiles. Lloyd was sweating and confused about what does that smile mean. On the other hand, Javier, who knows that the look of Queen Alicia is someone who already fall in love. Javier couldn't believe that his master, who has a mythical ugly face that can scare a demon, was able to pull off the queen. The night comes, and Lloyd asks Javier if the queen has summoned him. Javier replied, "Yes. She said she feels like she is lacking in training. It is good timing because there is something that I also want to ask her." Lloyd asks, To ask the queen? What do you have to ask her?" Javier asks, "Don't you feel something from the queen?" With an emotionless face, Lloyd replies, "Yeah, I do. Something like, wow, she is the queen." Hearing that Javier was silent because this bastard who hadn't even experienced having a girl in his lives was as dense as a brick. Before Javier leaves Lloyd said, "Hey, just in case something is wrong, go check on her left arm to see if anything is strange." Javier replied, "Yes, I will do that. By the way, were you going to somewhere?" Lloyd started thinking and then he replied, "Since I came all the way here, I was going to visit my brother." Javier, who knows that he is Kim Suho, said, "Your brother, huh?" Julian was actually training at this time, together with her wife who is a sword master. Sherazade said, "Julian, please straighten your back more. You cannot react to an ambush in that position." Julian told his wife Sherazade that he understood what she was saying. Then in an instant, Sherazade appeared at the back of Julian, which is expected for a sword master. The eyes of Sherazade were blazing as her speed increased, approaching his husband Julian, but instead of attacking him with a wooden sword, Sherazade released a kiss on the cheeks of Julian. Sherazade whispers at Julian saying that he lost again. Julian was blushing because of embarrassment, saying that Sherazade was so mean. Then Julian releases an ambush which is kissing Sherazade in her hands. Sherazade falls to her knees and told Julian that she is now incapable of combat. Julian said, "How was that? I won today, right?" And then an ambush happened once again. Another kiss was released and then it continued again and again. But on the other hand, while these two were doing lovey-dove scenes, Lloyd was hiding and was watching everything they were doing. Since he doesn't even experience to have a girl, so probably he is one of the most bitter person in the verse. Lloyd's face turns into an ugly Sigma face. In his mind, he sure is living a great life in a world that I could experience. Since I am the filthy, ugly, and lonely brother, I will make myself scarce so I won't get on your way. This poor guy with a legendary rank ugly face walks away and didn't interfere the loving moments of the two. But before he walks away, he looks back for a second. Julian said, "Sherazade, did you have a hard time demonstrating the sword techniques today?" Sherazade replied, "It was so tiring, but all my fatigue melts away when I see your face." Lloyd saw that these two really love each other, but he also knows the future, and tragedy only awaits to the both of them. Because of this, Lloyd starts making a promise. In his mind, "You will keep living a life of happiness because I will make sure that it will stay that way." Then the hero left for their own good, but while Lloyd was walking away, there is some shady guy who was mumbling something. He said, "That bastard. It is because of him. Because of that bastard in the academy. If he only didn't do something like that." He continuously mumbles that Lloyd is a packer. He shouted, "Lloyd is a packer," and then run to stab him in the back. There was this guy who walked with confidence inside the academy. He was followed by a lot of students. When he walked into the academy, the students were bowing. He was Lloyd Thanas, the person with the most authority in the Royal Academy. One student whispered to the new student that the guy Lloyd Thanas is the top student this time around. Julian was also on the side bowing to his authority. Lloyd Thanas looks at Julian. In his mind, "I was born a magic genius with exceptional talents, the son of Duke Thanas. How dare he surpass me and become the top student?" Lloyd whispers to one of the students that is under him. He said, "I don't want to see him in school, although I would be okay seeing him around a bit if he was crippled. If he appears in front of me again looking fine, then your family will have to face repercussions." Hearing that made the student shock because of fear from what he heard. The students, professors, and even the dean bowed before him, but right now, he and his father were on their knees in front of the mighty Queen of Magentano. The Queen said, "That is all the corruption and illegal deeds that you, Duke Thanas, and your son had committed." The Queen of Magentano added, "For the crime of insulting my name, Alicia Termina Magentano, I strip you of your title as Duke and confiscate all your assets." After that day, everything went into sheets. In the end, the Duke and Worthrod were tied in the tree. One of the fallen nobles approaches Worthrod with a sword because of anger. He said, "You are the one who destroyed my family that has been around for thousands of years. I will make you pay for it right now. Be thankful that this will only end with your death." And then that noble stabbed Worthrod in the chest that made Worthrod shed for tears. Worthrod was left with a stab of sword in his body, but still he survived. For him, if he was not a genius in magic, he will going to die in there. But the sword slowly slides from his body. Worthrod manages to escape from being tied. On that rainy and dark night, Worthrod lost everything from being stripped by the queen of his title. In his mind, I have lost both my powers, my money. I no longer have anything left. No, I do have one thing that is raging and burning inside within me, a desire for revenge. Going back, Worthrod was about to stab Lloyd at the back. He was cursing and shouting while aiming at him, but Lloyd was able to look back. Lloyd was able to evade and push his hand away from his body. Worthrod was shocked to see that his sneak attack was evaded by the person he hated the most. Then Lloyd, with his ugly smirking face, look at him and asks him what. Then he rotates his hand like a turbine. At this time, maybe Lloyd became Gear 5 Luffy, rolling his hand at the faster rate. Then Lloyd punched him in the face, which made Worthrod push away. Worthrod was down because of that. He was panting while catching his breath. His mouth was bleeding from the sacred punch of Lloyd. Lloyd asks, "Who are you? Why aren't you saying anything?" "All right then, stay quiet. It is not like I really wanted to know." Lloyd smiled and said, "You are the guy who was expelled from the academy because you did all those mean things, aren't you? It is obvious who you are for someone who is around your age and trying to kill me in this neighborhood." Hearing that made Worthrod angry, and he glares at Lloyd. Worthrod grabs the spill of blood in his hands and throws it at Lloyd, telling him to die. Lloyd was quite alarmed because of it. The splashes of blood turn into small daggers because of blood magic. As the blood daggers were approaching Lloyd, he hurriedly grabbed the hidden shovel in his coat. Although it was a sudden sneak attack, Lloyd was able to block and parried down all the blood daggers using his level 99 shovel skills. He then releases a counterattack by punching Worthrod in the face. Worthrod's face was bleeding from that magical punch of Lloyd. He said, "Surprised, aren't you? I do not look like it, but I am an intermediate sword expert. I was surprised too though. What was that just now? Did you just use blood magic?" Lloyd starts thinking of something because he has never seen blood magic in the novel. Worthrod angrily said, "You are just a scumbag. How could someone like you be a hero? A meritorious subject? That is absurd. I know what you really are. An underhanded villain. You are a filthy lowlife. You are someone who would commit treason for sure. You are someone who would kill anyone just so you could benefit from it." Lloyd looks at him thinking that this guy might have already gone mad. On the other hand, during the training session, Javier asks Queen Alicia, "What do you think of Lloyd?" Queen Alicia sheathes her sword and she replied, "He is competent and talented to the extent that I would like to keep him by my side." Javier asks, "Is that the only reason? Do you want to keep him by your side?" Queen Alicia replied, "Do I need any other reasons?" "Sir Asfahan, you are acting pretty strange today. You keep talking about things I have no idea about." Javier asks, "Is there something at the side?" Queen Alicia replied, "At the side? What do you mean? You are talking nonsense again." Javier said, "No matter how strong a warrior or a hunter is, I think they still need a home where their tired bodies can return to and rest, and they also need someone that would wait for them at home and cuddle them to sleep." After hearing that, Queen Alicia was silent. Maybe she was thinking about Lloyd. But congratulations for Javier as one of the handsome characters who is not as dense as Brick. He knows the feelings of a woman. Going back, at this time Lloyd was very angry at Worthrod that he kept punching him in the head even though this guy was already lying down. Lloyd said, "Crazy brat, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? I will just hit you 30 times then send you to jail, you bastard." Lloyd keeps punching him and he says, "Do you know why I am doing all this? I don't usually get annoyed easily, but you really struck a nerve. 12 times left. 13 times left. Oh, I guess it doesn't sound right. Guess I will start again 29 times. But while Lloyd was talking while beating him, Worthrod, whose hand was shaking, starting to move it and draw some magic circles. Then Worthrod smiled creepily with his bloody face. Lloyd was confused as to why he was making that face. Lloyd was shocked to see that a large amount of blood magic was gushing out from the floor. Lloyd was sweating looking at the top because there is something that is forming from the blood magic that Worthrod cast. Lloyd was starting to curse when he saw that monster that made with blood. He said, "Sheet, that creature looks even uglier than me." While Lloyd was taken aback looking at someone who can compare to his legendary face, that creature attacked Lloyd. On the other hand, while Javier was sparring with Queen Alicia, he felt something strange. Queen Alicia asks, "Where are you looking the midst of our sparring?" Javier said sorry to Queen Alicia for disturbing their sparring session, then he suddenly fly away without even bidding goodbye. Lloyd this time was the one being attacked, but his Superman, Javier Asfahan, came so fast to save his ugly master. Lloyd was being choked by that ugly octopus-like monster and was about to be devoured by it. But Javier was able to arrive on time and without hesitation cut the bloody octopus monster into pieces. Lloyd was able to escape from being grappled and the octopus became a sashimi. At that time, the caster who is Worthrod was also cut down by Javier. Javier was so angry, glaring at Worthrod, who tried to hurt his master. Javier at this time became like Diablo from the time I reincarnated as a slime. After Worthrod's hand was being cut down, this guy was screaming in pain. On the other hand, Lloyd, who was unconscious from being strangled, became a Disney princess and was caught by his prince, which is Javier, to be saved from falling. Worthrod was panting, doing his best to move and get near his hands that were already cut off. But Javier wants to end the guy who hurt his master because after he put down Lloyd, he fly again to end Worthrod. While Javier was flying towards him, Worthrod were able to grab his hands using his mouth and he was able to cast another spell that made Javier alarmed. While Worthrod was casting a spell, he was surrounded by blood magic and a splash of blood splashes down as Worthrod disappear without a trace. As Javier fly down, he saw that there was nothing left but only a spill of blood on the floor. Javier was somewhat annoyed because he could not detect his presence anymore as it completely vanished. On the other hand, Lloyd was still holding his neck that was strangled by that monster octopus a while ago. In his mind, what on earth was that? Where did someone who could use magic like that come from? In an abandoned ruins where he put blood on it, that was where Worthrod teleported with his wounded body. Looking at the blood remains, Lloyd said he is definitely the guy that had been expelled from the academy because of all the trashy things he did, but I have no idea what this blood magic is. Javier said, "Sorry, I should have cut his head off immediately." Lloyd replied, "Don't worry about it. No one could have guessed that he would escape like that." Worthrod was in pain while crawling to make himself sit. He was cursing Lloyd and Javier again and again, saying that he won't forgive all of them. Then he casted a spell to slowly heal his wounds. Lloyd, on the other hand, smiled and said, "Even if he targets me, I have a Grand Master who would come flying to help me no matter where I am or when it happens. I doubt that he will do anything stupid soon, right?" Javier was just silent, but still he was disappointed that he did not finish the enemy. While Worthrod was in agony because of pain, Worthrod was shouting that he would extract his revenge by killing Lloyd, and suddenly a notification popped up. The number of people that Lloyd saves from millions turns into 0. This made Lloyd surprised. His eyes started to widen when he saw that the number of people he saved turns into -1. In his mind, what? What does that mean? No! What? Because I came in this world. Someone is going to die because of me. You know, Sheet was about to get serious when this two were making this faces. The morning comes, and because of what happened, Lloyd was now surrounded by the kingdom's knight. Lloyd said, "Your Highness, the construction needs to begin, but I cannot work with this many guards around me." Queen Alicia said, "If someone is after our meritorious subject, then this level of security is to be expected." Queen Alicia told the captain of the knights to kill anyone who dares to approach Lloyd. Overprotective wife is coming all the way. Lloyd said, "No, you cannot do that. I think that will create quite a lot of trouble. I have Javier with me. His protection will be much more effective than even 1,000,000 soldiers." Queen Alicia said, "Well, that is true. I will conduct a separate investigation into the blood magic." Lloyd thanks the queen for that. In his mind, what on earth is he trying to do? And who is the person who would end up dying because of me? I have way too many things to be worried about. I will be able to resolve all this once I found out the method to deal with Fate's restorative powers. Hence, I must focus on getting Tauranga now. Lloyd told everyone that they needed to start working. In his mind, this will all be solved once we get it. We have to hurry up. One of the pillars below that supports the palace is Tauranga. We will dig underground and will only take that pillar. Naturally, the nobles of the kingdom wouldn't agree to such a ridiculous request, but the queen will solve that issue by mixing in some lies to say that the construction is for a palace maintenance. In order to minimize the damage caused to the palace, we need to dig like this. If we screw up, then it would be a huge problem. That is why in modern times, people would strengthen the foundation when performing similar construction projects. One of Lloyd's men told him that the things he orders has already arrived, which made him happy. The ground freezing method. It infuses cold air to freeze the moisture and strengthen the foundation. And in the Iron Blood Knight, the artifact that would make that happen is the Winter Heart, one of the Magentano great divine artifacts which stores a world of winter in it. It is a strategic weapon that the ice dragon Tyrannus gave to the royal family a long time ago. In the novel, the queen who turned dark used this against her enemies and froze them all. Of course, the approval of the noble council would be needed to use such a fearsome power. The queen resolved it by using bribes. Long live the queen! In Lloyd's mind, if I use the ice energy of this divine artifact to freeze the ground and toughen it, I would be able to extract Tanga safely. It also goes without saying that I have to replace it with another support. While surveying the area, Javier stopped as he noticed some familiar presence of one of the escort mages of the Winter Heart. It was actually Siluria. For those who don't know, Siluria is actually the girl that Javier fell in love with, but at the end Siluria died. But now that fate has changed, Siluria is now a genius mage. Seeing Siluria made Javier shocked. Siluria waved at Javier, which Lloyd also saw. Lloyd said, "She is a super genius after all. It is not strange that she would be taking care of a divine artifact for the kingdom." Lloyd added, "Go and talk to her. You miss her, didn't you?" Javier denied it and said, "I don't know what you are talking about." Lloyd replied, "Oh, don't you know that I am really observant? These eyes of mine can tell if someone likes another person. My observations have never been wrong. My ability to detect love is at max level." Javier's look changed because of his disappointment, because it looks like his ability to detect love at max level doesn't work on himself. This bastard who could create the best love story is as dense as brick when it comes to his love life. Javier takes a sigh and said, "Someone is after your life. I am not going anywhere." Lloyd replied, "Oh, I can defeat that blood magic guy too, as long as I am careful with his summon." Now it is time for the construction. Step 1. Use podong to dig down vertically and then place the rebar support and the concrete in. Step 2. Set up the refrigerant underground. Of course, the place was guarded well. Step 3. Get the best mages of the place to control the Winter Heart, then insert the pipes connected to the Winter Heart into the foundation and start freezing. Step 4. Starts to dig upwards, and the one who is digging is Podong, the legendary Pokemon of Lloyd. Looking at the construction, Javier said, "This is progressing faster than all the other construction projects." Lloyd replied, "Well, it is always better to be faster." In Lloyd's mind, since we are losing time even right now, I must complete this as soon as possible. The truth is, there is a faster way to extract Tanga. Lloyd was still thinking deeply about what if he uses that method. Then he suddenly slaps his face to gain back his focus and to stop overthinking things. Then Lloyd shouted, "Rebar team, get ready, time for the concrete coating and settings." Then the high-ranking mages start casting the spell to use the Winter Heart, which includes Miss Siluria, who is part of the team. But little did they know, while they are busy in using the Winter Heart, a spill of blood was moving behind the doors. And in that blood, the blood magic was activated in which Werthrot appeared. He was now in his new self, looking like Captain Hook. His feet that was cut off were replaced by steel, and in his hands a sword-like thing. A few days earlier, before that happens, the nobles were alarmed by the advancement of Lloyd and the position he got in the kingdom. Duke Thanas, who leads the Magentanos' noble principle, said, "The son of a lord from the countryside whose family suddenly made it big by pure luck. He is now a what? The most meritorious subject? At the rate he is advancing, it is dangerous to just leave him be." More than a few nobles have been forced to step down from their positions because of him. The other noble replied, "You are right. Due to the aggressive support from the queen, I have no choice but to agree to her plan, but I didn't think she would allow him to use the kingdom's sacred artifact. I have no idea what we ought to do with him." Duke Thanas' face turned serious. He said, "We must do whatever we can to bring him down. If we want to do that, we must also take care of Alicia, who is protecting him in a single move." While the Duke was alone, he was thinking about things deeply. In his mind, that is what I said, but his contributions to the kingdom are growing by the day. An assassination attempt on him would be impossible because of his escort knight. Then a man in a robe was sitting behind Duke Toscano. He told him long time no see, which made the Duke shocked. The Duke looked behind and shouted, "Who's there?" The man in robe was actually Worthrod. He said, "I am Worthrod Thanas, the third son of the former Duke Thanas. Count Toscano, have you been well? I mean, Duke Toscano." Duke Toscano was so shocked to see Worthrod alive. He was stuttering while saying, "Worthrod, you have been alive all this time?" Worthrod replied, "I don't know if I should say I have been alive. You look like you are full of worries. If the cause of that is Lloyd Frontera, I might be able to offer you some help." Worthrod asks, "I heard he is doing something in the palace. Could you tell me more about that?" Duke Toscano replied, "He is doing some palace maintenance. He even borrowed the Winter Heart to do it." Hearing the word Winter Heart, a lot of ideas came into his mind. Then he smiled creepily. Worthrod shows Duke Toscano a vial of his blood. He said, "I will do you a favor. This is my blood. Get someone to bring this and spill it onto the ground where the construction is at." Worthrod smiled creepily as he put mana in his new hands made of sword. He said, "If you do that, the whole world will know it, that the true face of Lloyd Frontera is a demon and that he should have never been born." This guy was thinking he can show Lloyd true face as a demon when in fact Lloyd's face even scares the demon. Going back to where the construction was happening, some workers called Lloyd suddenly. The workers told Lloyd that they have something to tell him. Lloyd told them that they can talk to him and asks them if there is something that is bothering them. The construction worker smiled and said, "No, that is not it. It is just, thanks to the diplomatic relations you have established with Asfahan, my wife was able to learn the pottery techniques of Asfahan, which was her dream. I have always wanted to thank you for that." Then another worker said, "I wanted to earn a lot of money by working in your construction. My son started studying civil engineering. He said he wants to become like you." Hearing that made Lloyd smiled. Lloyd might not be famous with girls, but he is now famous with men. With a serious face, he smiled and said, "If you are thankful, then give me 1,000 gold each." And without hesitation, those workers put all the money in his hand. Javier told his master that he extorted from those workers who were happy moving away. Even the system was amazed that Lloyd extorted them. Looking at the money, in Lloyd's mind, "Wait, I wasn't expecting them to take it seriously." Lloyd and Javier started moving away. Javier said, "How should I put this? It feels like you are a corrupt official now." Lloyd replied, "I am going to return this to them. I am rich enough to not take pennies from others." One of the soldier guard the construction site told his fellow guard, "Why isn't the next shift yet? Go and get them." The other soldier follows what the guard said. But that guard was actually a henchman of Duke Toscano. He took out the vial of blood of Worthrod and then spilled it on the floor. Then an eye appeared in that spill of blood, and then it looks at the surroundings. Knowing that there was no guard, it started to move inside where the Winter Heart was protected. Miss Siluria, including the other magicians, noticed the appearance of Worthrod, which made them alarmed. But this guy who wanted to extract his revenge laughs creepily. Javier also notices the presence of this bastard from afar. Lloyd, who was confused, asks, "What the hell? What happened?" Javier, who was angry at this time, told Lloyd that Worthrod is here. The wizard who was guarding the Winter Heart asks the invader to reveal his identity, but Worthrod just laughs and rushes towards the Winter Heart while smiling. He was able to evade the fireball that was released by the mages easily. Lloyd orders Javier to go and protect the Winter Heart, and Javier hurriedly runs into the place where the Winter Heart is stored. Worthrod chant the blood magic and aim it at the wizards. The mages were panicking as the blood magic approached them. To protect her fellow mages, Miss Siluria cast a spell called Iron Wall. But Worthrod's magic was able to penetrate the magic barrier easily and broke it, making Miss Siluria shocked. The spell of Worthrod was able to destroy the thing that protects the Winter Heart, making the divine artifact exposed. Javier could only curse because he knew that he was already late. Javier was panicking trying to find where Worthrod was, but that guy was so sly that he already disappeared from the eyes of the mages, including from the Grand Master like Javier. But at this time the power of the Winter Heart is getting rampant and out of control. But Javier's eyes started to widen from shock when he saw Miss Siluria stepping forward to take control and minimize the wild magic power that the Winter Heart is releasing. Javier was looking for his master, so he looked back where Lloyd was standing, but Lloyd told him to not stop what he was doing and that he must stop the Winter Heart at all costs. Javier wants to go back and help Lloyd, but Lloyd tells him to trust his judgment this time around. Javier has no choice but to jump and help Miss Siluria to stop the divine artifact that has gone rampant. Miss Siluria looks at Javier with worry, but her body also felt the cold that was released by the winter heart. Her body was slowly freezing. Javier steps forward to take action and control the power of the winter heart. In his mind, this is the power of an elder dragon. I won't be able to last long. Lloyd's title he got from fulfilling his mission starts to sink in. The system said, your hands are frozen cold, your feet are frozen cold title has taken into effect. Lloyd is no immune to hypothermia no matter how cold it gets. Lloyd runs as fast as he can so he could save the trap workers. In his mind, I might be fine, but the workers inside won't be able to withstand it. I am no hero of justice. I am also not someone who would do everything he can to save people. But still, I need to return the 1,000 gold to them. But while Lloyd was doing his best to run and save his workers, little did he know that Worthrod was following behind his back, aiming to slash him. Worthrod stabbed Lloyd at the back and he told Lloyd to face his true nature. Lloyd starts to curse as he feels that he was stabbed. But suddenly, Lloyd felt a strange feeling and then the veins in his body started to show with different colors. It is a poison that is the same as the one that poisoned Queen Alicia. Then Lloyd, who was actually Kim Suho, was transported into another world. It was his inner thought that he was battling at. Someone called him and said, "Hey, Kim Suho, why are you dawdling around when you are running out of time?" The guy who was actually talking to him is an evil conscience who took the form of Lloyd. The evil Lloyd said, if I wanted to extract the material in less than a day, I could have just destroyed the entire place. The evil Lloyd smiled and told Lloyd that they are capable of destroying the kingdom if they wanted it. Going back, even though Javier was a Grand Master, the power of the Winter Heart was still too much for him to handle. The other mages were helping Javier to calm down the power that has gone rampant, but even them, including Miss Siluria, was slowly freezing from the power of the Winter Heart. To lessen the coldness of the area, Miss Siluria released a spell called Ignite. A tornado of fire was created because of it. Miss Siluria was doing her best to stop the Winter Heart. In Javier's mind, thanks to Siluria, I can hang in there a little. But what is the point of being on defense? Kim Suho, that guy, what about his safety? On the other hand, while the poison curse that Worthrod put and stabbed at Lloyd was taking effect, it slowly controls the body of Lloyd. Worthrod was laughing seeing Lloyd in agony. He said, "This is an ancient black magic, a curse known as darkness encroachment." As the curse continues to affect Lloyd, his body was shaking and he was shouting in pain. On the other hand, Worthrod was so happy about it. He said, if there is a single bit of darkness within the person's heart, it amplifies infinitely until the darkness dominates the person. Someone like you is respected by others? Don't be ridiculous. Fall into depravity and go berserk. Destroy everything. Reveal your true colors. Be cursed by the whole world. On the other hand, Kim Suho was fighting a bigger battle, not physically but mentally. The evil Lloyd said, how much time did you waste in the Merman Kingdom? What was the reason for creating the bathhouse and taking your time to win their favor? There was a faster way, wasn't there? Then on the water where Kim Suho was standing, an image can be seen. It shows the Merman Kingdom together with the large octopus holding the kingdom. The evil Lloyd said, if you brought Yang Yang along, it would have taken less than a day to get everything resolved. There wouldn't have been a need to get the permission from the Merman Queen, since you could have just used the fabulous method known as fear. Would the Merman Queen have been a match for Javier? How long do you think it would have taken for you to subdue the merman? 1 hour, 2 hours at most. The Tauranga, wouldn't you have gotten it if you would just destroyed the whole castle? If only you didn't try to act like a fool. You might have already completed the Aotearoa and used the Jewel of Truth. Kim Suho with a scared face said, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I do that? So many people would get hurt and be saddened. The evil Lloyd said, who gives a shit about them? It is not like they are my family members. The evil Lloyd starts crying and said, they are complete strangers compared to the people that are important to me. That is the large difference, and are you going to lose everything again? Kim Suho looks at the image below him. It was the faces of his parents. He looks sad looking at the parents who love him the most, but he wasn't able to give them a better life in the end before he lost them. The place starts shaking, and the cracks were spreading as Kim Soo-ho was about to consume by the complete darkness. He just stands looking down where he can saw the image of his parents. Kim Soo-ho looks at the evil Lloyd. The evil Lloyd offer his hand at Kim Soo-ho. He said, "Let's go save those we love." Kim Soo-ho walks toward the evil Lloyd, and he was about to reach the hand of the evil Lloyd. But instead of reaching the hand of his evil self, Kim Soo-ho hugs the evil Lloyd, which makes the evil Lloyd shock. He said, "It is scary, isn't it? It is all right, man." He holds the evil Lloyd and looks at him with a positive face. Kim Soo-ho said, "We can resolve everything even if we don't do something like that. We are freaking competent, aren't we?" Then the evil Lloyd was left as Kim Soo-ho goes back to the original world. That evil conscience turns into something good and smiled, saying that Kim Soo-ho was right. With this, we know that Kim Soo-ho, or the present Lloyd, is not truly evil, but only do evil means and evil negotiations for the sake of the people and his lazy life. Going back, the cold magic that the Winter Heart is emitting continues to grow stronger, and Lloyd was standing in the middle with Worthrod on the floor behind him. Lloyd looks back at Worthrod, and there is no ounce of hatred was shown in the face, which means he completely overcome the evil side of his self. Worthrod was shocked to see that Lloyd was okay. This guy tries to make Lloyd evil when Lloyd was the role model of demons. With his ugly, smug face, Lloyd looks at Worthrod and grabs him in the collar. He said, "Go to hell with your true colors nonsense." Lloyd shows him the face that scares the demon knight and punches Worthrod in the face. He said, "The way I feel on the inside and the feelings I show on the outside, they are all the same." A perfect hit from the MC, who became the boxing world champion, punching Worthrod. Queen Alicia together with her knights run towards where the incident happened. She asks the guard how much time had passed. The knight told him that it was about 5 minutes. Although the soldiers try to stop the queen from entering for her safety, but the queen already jump inside the area. For Queen Alicia, Lloyd is a precious and a competent citizen, so she refuses to lose him no matter what. Queen Alicia called Javier, but Javier's hand is full from just controlling the Winter Heart. Javier said, "Your Highness, please help Lloyd. He is further inside." While Queen Alicia was forcing herself to go in, she saw a man who was already completely frozen. She looks at it, in her mind. This person, he is the son of former Duke Thanas, so he is the one behind all this. But Queen Alicia's attention was caught when he saw a shadow of a human carrying a man. When she looks at it deeper, the guy carrying an injured man was actually her beloved Lloyd Frontera. By the looks of it, he was almost completely frozen. Only his will is fighting the extreme coldness. Going back when Kim Soo-ho was working in a construction site, there was this jolly bald guy. The bald guy called Soo-ho and said, "You didn't quit and turned for work, huh?" Kim Soo-ho replied, "Pardon? But isn't it normal for me to turn up for work?" The bald guy laughs and said, "Looks like you are not the kind that would run away just because the work is tough, huh?" Kim Soo-ho replied, I am not in a situation where I can just quit." The bald guy pats Soo-ho and he said, "Everyone has their own situations, but not everyone stays. You are really incredible." Kim Soo-ho thanks him for his compliment. For Kim Soo-ho, everyone in the construction liked that man. He was always smiling and cheering others up, even though he was also having a hard time himself. But an accident happened. The bald guy fell down and became crippled. The reason was obvious, because this was a place where all the safety equipment was old and worn. However, no one stood up to take responsibility for it. The construction company and project management company both shifted the blame. Looking at this tragic situation made Kim Soo-ho think, just why? No one stand up to take responsibility? When there was a profit for them, they would always claim their rights. But when it comes to taking responsibility, all of them looked away. But what about me? If something similar happens on site and I am there, I might be someone who would run away as well. But the Kim Soo-ho who is in the name of Lloyd right now is taking responsibility, carrying the two guys who give him 1,000 gold a while ago. Queen Alicia, who is worried, runs so fast calling Lloyd. She hurriedly hugs Lloyd and put her cape on him. Queen Alicia tries to feel the body of Lloyd, which makes her shock. In her mind, the mana in his body is almost depleted. Did he give all of his mana to the workers? He has been enduring this coldness with just his body? Lloyd, who was shaking from coldness, starts mumbling and he said, "There are 8 more people inside." Javier is also in danger. Queen Alicia whispers at Lloyd and told him that she will help him first, and then carries Lloyd in her back to run outside the area. Lloyd told Alicia that he doesn't need help and she needs to help the workers first, but Queen Alicia insists and told Lloyd to trust in her. Because of the speed of the Queen, they were almost at the exit. Queen Alicia leaps side by side and then jumps to fully exit from the area. The soldier shouted that their queen is already outside now. But Queen Alicia looks back at that place again. The soldier asks, "Your Highness, where are you going?" But Queen Alicia didn't mind them and just jumps inside. The knight told the soldiers to help Sir Lloyd first and give him some more blankets. Lloyd was almost completely frozen. Looking at Lloyd, the soldiers started to question, how did Lloyd lasted in that area? Lloyd was shaking at this time. In his mind, damn it, I relied on my tidal effect. It is just immune to hypothermia. It is useless if my body gets frozen. But right now, Lloyd felt the warm outside and he was thinking that he can rest right now. While Queen Alicia goes further in, she saw Podong inside, who was shaking because of the intense coldness. Podong was actually holding the other workers with him. Salute to Podong, the Pokemon hero. One worker shouted that 2 more people come out. They were shouting to stop the Queen going inside because it was dangerous. But on the other hand, Lloyd was lost in his thoughts. In his mind, the Queen is so awesome, as expected of a swordmaster. Javier is also stopping the cold energy. I think this will work out somehow. The Queen came out once again and she carried 2 more persons with her. One soldier said, "Your Highness, you cannot go back in anymore. How could you risk your life for people like them?" Hearing that made Queen Alicia angry. She said, "Shut up. If you were the ones inside, would you be able to say things like that?" On the other hand, Lloyd was daydreaming. In his mind, I will rest a little now, while dreaming of enjoying my life in the county. Just taking it easy while managing the county, joking around Javier and teasing him. But suddenly Lloyd goes back to his senses because of a sudden explosion. On the other hand, the power of the winter heart grows stronger and more rampant, and Javier wasn't able to control it. As it goes rampant, Javier could only hugs to protect Siluria. Queen Alicia was successful in saving Podong and the workers with him. The workers said that the last person is out. Queen Alicia said, "No, there are a few more people in the refrigerant chamber." The Queen, who also suffers from frostbite, was shocked together with other people when the whole chamber beneath exploded. It created a cold tornado that affects the whole Magentano Kingdom. All the citizens in the kingdom saw the tornado and even they felt the intense cold that the winter heart is releasing. In order to lessen the tornado of ice, Yang releases a laser breath to attack the tornado ice. Seeing that attack, Queen Alicia runs together with other workers as it explodes. Queen Alicia told the workers, "Evacuate all the citizens, anyone who is intermediate, expert, and above. Move the injured." But Alicia was quite alarmed when she saw Lloyd standing and not even moving an inch. Even the people was in chaos. Queen Alicia, who looks worried, shouted at Lloyd, "Don't come over here, run away." Lloyd raised his hand to use his skill. He said, "No, I refuse to lose anything that belongs to me." Lloyd activated the supercharge as the notification pops up and the coldness in the place was slowly absorbed by Lloyd. Queen Alicia runs at Lloyd to stop him. She shouted, "Stop it, Lloyd! That amount of energy is not something any human can absorb." But it was already too late as the tornado was swirling towards Lloyd. The tornado that created from Winter Heart starts to go on one area and it slowly fades away. The whole power of the Winter Heart was going to the place where Lloyd was standing. It was getting sucked by his skill. In the end, the whole Winter Heart was absorbed by Lloyd's body, but he suffered a great consequences, and that is his body turned into ice as he was completely frozen. The whole tornado was gone and the weather went back to the original with only some snowflakes can be seen. Queen Alicia looks devastated to see that the most competent person in her kingdom, Lloyd Frontera, now turns completely into ice. The 2 workers who were once give Lloyd the 1,000 gold is okay and was getting heat with Blanket. Worthrod, who was once lost his hope in life and was blinded by revenge, is now also completely frozen like Lloyd. Javier and Siluria seems to be okay, but Siluria noticed that the whole Winter Heart disappeared without even a hint where it goes. In the end, Lloyd was a true hero with his body fully frozen, saving all the citizens of Magentano Kingdom. I don't know if he will survive this, but he still has a second life that was given by the Dragon King. After that, the soldiers are asking if everyone is safe. They order the soldiers to hurry up to rescue everyone that is still inside. The old mage couldn't believe that he is still alive. He said, "How did we survive that cold? I felt that my whole body freeze up. I thought I was dead, but the coldness suddenly disappeared. It was as if something had taken away all the coldness." Siluria looked saddened looking at what happened to Lloyd. Javier, on the other hand, was too stunned that he didn't even move. His eyes widened to see that his master, who he served his life to, had died by absorbing all the coldness that the winter heart had released. The queen still could not believe that Lloyd really sacrifices himself just like that, even though she stops him from doing that. She was shaking looking at Lloyd, the man he loves, the man he adores, because he is competent enough for her kingdom. She slowly walks and tries to touch the hand of Lloyd. As it slowly approaches Lloyd's hand, Queen Alicia's hand was shaking. As their palms touch one another, Queen Alicia felt the pulse of Lloyd and it was still beating. Queen Alicia called Javier and told him that Lloyd's heart is still beating. Hearing that made Javier shock. Hearing that, all the men start running towards Lloyd. The queen orders her men to move Lloyd carefully. Queen Alicia then asks Javier to melt the ice using his mana. But at this time, Lloyd was in an unknown place and his body was full of ropes and he could not move. In his position, he looks like a sadist. He was thinking that right now it is so freaking cold. In his mind, why do I look like this? Why I am in this state? Then there is a spirit creature that appears that has a strange shape or looks like an inverted heart. It says, "Your heart has become a manifestation. The only thing that is moving in your body is your heart. You are still alive thanks to me. Be grateful." Then Lloyd shouted, "Holy shit, a butt monster." Hearing that, the winter heart got angry and it said, "I am a heart. The winter heart. See, a heart. Blue. The winter heart." Lloyd said, honestly, you look like a butt." Lloyd said, "So, why is the winter butt inside my body?" The winter heart said, "I am the winter heart. Why are you so insistent? You are so stubborn. I am here because you absorbed me. More accurately, I let you absorb me. This is ridiculous. To think the winter heart that the great dragon Tyrannus made by gathering energy for over 100 days would be absorbed. Even if your body tries to absorb my mana until it explodes, that wouldn't take even 1 out of 1,000 of my mana. But I sense special power from you, because you have a heart that resembles a dragon." Hearing that made Lloyd think, in his mind, one of my skills, half man, half dragon. That is why the old man dragon was also friendly towards me. The winter heart said, "But that is not all. You were able to sacrifice yourself for the good of others with no hesitation. It was surprising. I want to see how far a human like you can go." Lloyd's face turns into something that looks like he was disgusted from what he heard. He said, "Self-sacrifice, what nonsense. I just didn't want others to talk bad about me." The winter heart said, "That is good enough. That alone is enough." Hearing that made Lloyd silent. Then the winter heart starts swirling around Lloyd until it was completely absorbed by his heart. Then a notification pops up. It says, "You have become one with the dragon's sacred artifact, the winter heart. Due to the influence of the power that freezes everything, you have unlocked a new skill. It was a special skill called Time Freeze." Then Lloyd wakes up from his slumber. He was so shocked about it that his eyes widen. In his mind, Time Freeze? That is so freaking awesome. A notification from the system pops up. It says, "You are able to freeze the flow of time. The user can decide on an area to remain unfrozen. The size of the unfrozen area depends on the amount of mana the user has. Time flows normally in the unfrozen areas." Seeing that he smiled like a devil, in Lloyd's mind, the duration can be up to 1 year. Once the user is outside of the unfrozen area, the skill will be cancelled. This means something like that could be possible, right? To freeze time and do construction on the frozen time. The system told Lloyd that he is just a fool who knows nothing but only construction. He was somewhat happy about it. In his mind, this is an incredible backup plan. Even if the fate of the misery starts now, I can just freeze time and do something more. The only problem is I have been lazy in gathering RP these days. I need to put in more effort. For Lloyd, it is good that he got a crazy super ultimate skill, but there is a problem he needs to face right now, and he looks at the Queen just to be sure. Javier was shocked to see that his master Lloyd was completely awakened now. Because of shocked, he tried to call the name of Lloyd under Kim Suho, but Lloyd stops him before he could completely speak. He shows him a sign that he needs to be quiet. He tries to look at the Queen, but the Queen was fully asleep at this time. Lloyd told Javier in a low voice. He said, "Listen carefully. I just swallowed the kingdom's sacred artifact. That is pretty much the same as someone stealing a country's nuclear missile." Javier asks him what is a nuclear missile. Lloyd got serious and replied, "Just forget that. What I am saying is that I could be executed for this. So, let's run." Javier asks, "What would that solve?" "You would have to fight against the kingdom. How would you handle the consequences of that?" Lloyd, who was panicking while shaking, replied, "I have my plans. Have you ever seen me fail?" Looking at Lloyd, Javier said, "Your eyes look like you have already failed." Queen Alicia, who had already woken up, told Lloyd that it is too late for him to run away. Seeing the Queen waken up, Lloyd shouted like he had seen a ghost. Lloyd has no choice but to bow down. He said, "Oh, great Queen, I didn't intend to swallow the winter heart. What happened was..." The Queen said, "Do you think sticking your butt up is the solution to everything?" Queen Alicia added, "I already have an idea of what happened. The problem is that even if the person who caused the whole incident was someone else, you are the person who was responsible for taking care of the winter heart. That was loaned to you." Lloyd could only cry. In his mind, that blood mage bastard. It is all because of him. Lloyd asks what happened to the guy who used blood magic. Queen Alicia replied, "He is the son of the former Duke Thanas known as Worthrod. He managed to get out of cold and survive, but he was executed by fire. He was pretty tough though. I saw him turn into ashes with my own eyes." The Queen told Lloyd that there is something much more important right now. The Queen smiled looking at Lloyd and told him that the much more important thing is seeing Lloyd safe. Hearing that made Lloyd blush and his heart beats faster. In Lloyd's mind, wow, that came out of nowhere. What was that? Is my heart unstable because of the winter butt? The winter heart angrily told Lloyd that he is a heart, not a butt. The system agrees to what Lloyd also said, but Lloyd, who can only hear their voices, told them to both shut up because they are driving him mad. The Queen disappointingly said, "It is a pity though, that we couldn't find out more about the blood magic that Worthrod was using. Even if we tortured him, he would recover immediately, so the confession magic was no use. I wanted to find out more details about something that is dangerous." Lloyd responds, "Oh, I did get some information from him. He used a sword infused with purple mana to stab into my ribs, and I was temporarily cursed with something known as darkness encroachment. In a place that seemed to be in blood, there was a different me that kept talking." Hearing that caught the attention of Queen Alicia. Queen Alicia told Lloyd to hold on, and she gets to where Lloyd is bowing, saying that she wants to know all the details about it. Then Lloyd was shocked when Queen Alicia pulled off her gloves, and he saw that the Queen has also a cursed like him in her hands.